Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare. So settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see you. Welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. Welcome. It is great to have you. It is Wednesday already, again. And so it's World Building Wednesday, and this is going to be kind of a transitional episode here because of where we are with the different projects as far as world building. I've said that what I thought we need to do was come up with like a list and then also like document where we are with different stages of different projects and whether we still think certain projects are good ideas or whether they are not. And actually, I think today is kind of a good idea, a good time to do that, kind of look at where we are, what we've done, because this is episode 268 of the morning grind. And I mean, I don't know if anybody celebrates 268 as a milestone of anything, but that is a lot of episodes. I mean, we have been at this almost every morning for quite a while now. And so it seems like it's a good time to kind of reflect on what we are, where we are, what we've done, and so forth, and see how we can improve it. Because there has been so much done. There has been so much done. And I was thinking about how we could potentially improve things and kick things up potentially another couple notches based on what's happened, because I just kind of jumped into this and said, well, all right, what can happen? Where are we? What can happen? Let's see what we might be able to do. And then we've evolved into everything that we are. Some things have worked. Some things have not worked. Some things have, been interesting and done well. Some things kind of, haven't. But that's just because, hey, the philosophy here is you start before you're ready, right? You start before you think you're ready, because you don't really know what's going to work and what's going to end up, what you're going to really end up wanting to do anyway. Maybe you end up not liking certain things. You find some things work, some things don't. And so, but if you go ahead and start, you can start finding that stuff out. I hope everybody, I was up this morning working on the Tales of Rabivania script. That is my major writing project right now, trying to get that worked out. I need a pen. Looking for a pen around here. Actually, a pen that will work would be nice. Well, here's a pencil. Okay. So we're going to see about that, because I think that we can change things up a little bit. Again, I was talking to Doug. I was talking to Doug about that last night. I was talking to Doug about now how can we change up? Because we've also done a lot of like table talk and things like that. How can we improve? And I'm going to be talking to somebody else on the same subject tonight, trying to take look at a lot of data and how do we change things up and how do we really get going here. Robert, so I was working on the Tales of Rabivania. Robert is still working on his AI gaming project. Robert says, still coaxing AI to consistently read the user prompt for exits and getting much more persistent, modifying original system prompt to refer to user prompt. Sometimes a single line of prompt can matter. So just have to be persistent. Robert is our resident AI expert and actually making things happen with it. So let's see who we've got here. James, good morning, James. Good morning. Good morning from Positive Fandom. Good morning. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Good morning. Robert, we said here. PH is here. Good morning. Good morning. So good morning to everybody. So all right. So we'll breathe and sip here. But I think first we'll just take a look at listing some of the different projects here that we've gotten going here, and then seeing what kind of stage they're in and so forth. And then I want to talk about, you notice that I put a picture of Lucifer as an alchemist on the thumbnail for this, because like I said, this is kind of a transition right here, because James has been helping me out. James Bacon has been helping me out because I basically wrote all of the lore necessary for the Tales of Rabivania World Primer. World Primer is what we're calling it. And then last Wednesday, we did go over and basically finish all of the 5E stats that need to go in the book. Now, there are still some easy D6 stats to go, and also do Pathfinder, or we may end up having to do another system, or maybe we can find somebody to help us out with Pathfinder or something like that. But I realized that it's not I got distracted. So I realized that, well, because I'm done with the text for all the lore, and then also the 5e is basically ready to go, it's time to go ahead and move that book at least out over into layout. But I wanted somebody else to take a look at it first. And James graciously agreed to do that. So he's been working on that. So that puts another pair of eyes on it before it actually, the text of it kind of gets finalized, and then it can go out to layout. So that's moving along. So that means that it's kind of time to start thinking about, well, how do we shift things as into starting the next book or the next project, even though my main writing project right now is still trying to work on the Tales of Rabivania movie script. Greg, good morning, Greg. Hello, able to watch live today because my son had his first day of kindergarten. Well, congratulations to him. That's a big day. And I took the day off. Love your live streams. Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you. Here's to you, Greg. Here, we'll take a sip to Greg right here. And to your son on the first day of kindergarten, here's to you. Good morning, Brett. Good morning. Got your email. We'll reply. Read it. We'll reply. All right, let's go ahead and breathe and sip. This is the mental health portion of the show. So let's breathe and sip. Two deep inhales, complete exhales, and then we will take a sip of your favorite beverage this morning. So here you go. And sip. There we go. And Zero the Blade says, if you need help with Pathfinder conversion, I'm using it for my tabletop RPG thanks to No Nats. Oh, did you sent me? I think you sent me that link before, or that name before. So I did. I've got that written down someplace. So we will take a look at that. I will take a look at that, and that may be what I need. But I realize that might as well go ahead and move forward with layout. Some of the the art and the layouts can be the same between all the different books anyway. So let me then. Well, no problem, James. That's no problem. Plus, we had table talk last night. Table talk last night was also fantastic. On the Morning Grind, we did a couple of episodes where we were analyzing Star Wars, A New Hope, and Doug wanted to chime in, and so we did last night on Star Wars, and he was specifically talking about the Heroine's Labyrinth and the arc that Princess Leia has inside A New Hope, and how it has many of the characteristics, basically a lot of the characteristics of Act 3 of what would happen inside the Heroine's Labyrinth. We also talked a little bit about the Matrix and the comparison between Princess Leia and Trinity, and then also some of the things that Luke Skywalker does and Neo does. So it was a fantastic discussion. All right, so let's turn that off. Let's bring up this over here. Good morning, TSL Frontman. Good morning. Let's see what's going on over here and talk about where we are. First, let's see. Let's put in a table up here. And the first thing let's talk about shows. World building, the different kinds of things that we've done. Let's see. Bring this up so people can actually read it. There we go. Shows and what are their status? So one of the major shows that we've got here is The Morning Grind. And that seems to be going well. I enjoy doing The Morning Grind every morning, and I want to continue to push this show to make it one of the best morning shows in the Geekverse here and going forward. But now, okay, so here's something. Let me ask you what you think about all of this, because I've been going back and forward on this for years and years and years, trying to figure out whether it's best to consolidate things on channels or whether it's best to separate them out. And, at one time I tried to separate some of my different shows out on separate channels, but the problem that I had with that was that I was just not able to generate material fast enough. That was actually long before I was live streaming as well. The idea is like, hey, maybe I do have several different kinds of things here. Maybe I should put them all on their own channels. But then it was just impossible to generate that level of material for multiple channels. But now most of the shows that we do are live streams. I just call them the shows. Some people call them, podcasts or whatever. Live streams. I just call them the shows that we're doing here. And over the past, about 268 days, 78 days, we have generated several different shows that have ended up going well. But I think they would be easier to find if they were on multiple channels. Now, that doesn't stop. I'm pretty sure that you can. You don't have to take them down from someplace, because, for instance, I could start just a dedicated Morning Grind channel, still stream it here, but then also stream it to a dedicated Morning Grind channel where people might be able to see it. And if they're just interested in the Morning Grind, then we could just have the Morning Grind there. And of course, there are already like 268 episodes that could also be put over there for people to find and enjoy. So I would say Morning Grind going well. But possibly moved. Actually, this probably didn't need a table. The other thing will, but whatever. Possibly start a dedicated channel. One of the shows that start a dedicated channel. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm also thinking about the same thing with Table Talk. The reason I was talking to Doug about this last night is because Doug really is interested in getting the word out about Table Talk. And of course, he's talking about the Heroine's Labyrinth and his thing as well. And so it might be that Table Talk also needs to go on a show. But we've had, I think last night, see, how many Table Talk episodes have we gone? So this is kind of like a recap. Recap. We're going to talk about the worlds that we're going to too, but it's kind of like a recap. What is it that we're all creating? So last night was episode 45 of Table Talk. So there are already 45 episodes. And we did briefly mention too that maybe we need to take some of the audio of that and be able to put them on other podcasting types of channels, possibly start a dedicated channel for Table Talk, and also publish out. And I'm going to have to look into that. Other podcasting outlets. Wherever people are looking for podcasts. Now the difficulty is all this takes more work. And in another world, if there were more money, there would be. I say we need another producer. I need to bring on like an associate producer or something like that in order to help out with that, and also scheduling. But if something like that happens, then that would also let people who are just interested in the morning grind or in Table Talk find an outlet that just has Table Talk on it. And I think that could be a good idea, especially if we're talking about how would we promote Table Talk? How would we promote the discussions that we've had? Because I think those 44 discussions or 45 discussions we've had, I mean, some of those are some really good discussions that some of them are timely and topical because like we did the Barbie one, but a lot of them endure. Like if you find them next year, even they're still going to be relevant because they're about story analysis and topics that you may want to come back to. Like last night's conversation on Star Wars. That's not, and our conversations on Star Trek. I mean, if you are a fan of Star Wars or Star Trek, if you find those a year from now, I mean, they're still going to be relevant. Good morning, Vision. Good morning. I saw a video of, PH says, I saw a video of basic advanced, the basic advanced Berserker about Rules Cyclopedia War Machine system. He makes it so obvious and easy, I found it preposterous. I'm not exactly sure what that is about. I mean, I know the Rules Cyclopedia, the War Machine system. Huh. See, that's the other side. Robert says, consolidation on a single channel is usually optimal because you want to make it easier for fans to find the hub. It might be better organized if you just take topics and turn them. Oh, they're on playlists. Of course, they're on playlists. Yeah, they're on playlists. Yeah, that's the way they're organized right now. Yeah, they're all playlists. But that doesn't mean that they can't also be broadcast here on Heath's Geekverse. But I know there are people who care about some of the shows and they don't care about other ones. Robert says, over time, most viewers won't be subscribers. So usually you want to time notifications to live streams and then do uploads in between. You'll get 3 notifications in a day. Well, yeah. So that's another thing that we're talking about. Like, if I sit down and I try to clip episodes, which I think there's also a lot to be said about clipping some episodes. And doing that, but that takes 2 to 3 hours. If I'm going to create, if I sit down and I say, hey, I need to clip some part of like this episode or something that's going out, one of the morning grinds, that's another 2 to 3 hour chunk of my day. And 2 to 3 hours is a big chunk of a day when you're trying to get other things done to get a YouTube clip out. So that's another one of those things. It's like, okay, how do you get YouTube clips out? I think other YouTubers hire that out so that clips would come out. But, again, I've got a variety of different kinds of things. So, should there just be clips of Table Talk on a Table Talk clip channel and then clips of Morning Grind elsewhere? Because this doesn't have to, this channel could certainly remain the hub for everything. If you're into the Morning Grind, if you're in, the Geekverse in general, which is how I kind of ended up setting up this channel, then it's still all here on this channel as well. But if you are just into one thing, maybe it would be better for you to have some place to find it. I don't know. I have no idea what the answer to this is. I have no idea what the answer to that is. And then of course we do have so one of the ones that has gone is General Geekdom. Scratched. And last summer I was running a panel show. This was a panel show, General Geekdom, where I tried to get together a panel of people to do a discussion on a topic. But that one I think is one of the ones that had to go. That one was not easy because we did it on Sundays. We had you can still find them. We had a panel of people get together, but coordinating a panel of people is not easy. You think, gee, it's so easy. Just send the link, the StreamYard links to people, and be able to have them have them join, and nobody has to be someplace physically. And yes, that does make it so much easier, but still it's coordinating people that's so difficult. And so I was spending a lot of time working behind the scenes as a producer, trying to make sure that I actually had a panel for each discussion every week. And that just sucks. That's why the morning grind works so well. I don't have to have anybody else. I can just turn on the camera and I know that we're grinding here. So General Geekdom got scratched. Actually, so Table Talk ended up kind of morphing, because originally Table Talk was the one-on-one show when General Geekdom was the panel show. But Table Talk has morphed, which it doesn't matter if there's more than one person there. If there are 2 or 3 people who are available and who need or want to discuss a topic, well, then no problem. So my intro on Table Talk still says there's the one-on-one show, but we have so that's morphed. So General Geekdom kind of morphed, and Table Talk kind of morphed into one another and continued as Table Talk. And then Dinner and a Board Game. And this one has certainly changed. See, Dinner and a Board Game is also rather different. So, there are probably people who are interested in Dinner and a Board Game, but who are not necessarily interested in Table Talk or the Morning Grind, Dinner and a Board Game. And we've been, so this is also morphed. So this is morphed from, that was one of the most expensive, morphed from in person and recorded to live. Trying to find some way. I love that show. I like Dinner and a Board Game. But that was an extremely expensive show to produce. The first season of Dinner and a Board Game was extremely expensive to produce. Everybody had to come down to my house, and I live about 40 minutes outside of town anyway. So some people were coming a little bit further than that. Everyone was paid for Dinner and a Board Game. So, that involved hiring people to come down here to play Dinner and a Board Game. That involved buying all of the ingredients. Megan had to come down here, prep all of, basically do an entire prep of a meal to practice it first, and then we had to shoot B-roll for the kitchen. We had to have everybody down here. And then, so not only did we have, the actors here, the people who were, it's a reality kind of show, but the talent who was going to be on the show, but also we had a professional videographer here doing the director of photography, shooting the thing, and then also had 2 different production assistants. So, that was a lot of people here in the house. And of course, that went basically all day. And at one time, I was trying to do 2 episodes. I was like, we got to do 2 episodes a day. We would start at like 8 in the morning and go till 8 at night shooting episodes. And then we would have all this footage. And then it would take weeks and weeks to edit all that footage together and particularly do all the overlays and things like that. So Dinner and a Board Game, even though I kind of designed this house, that's why I renovated the kitchen the way it is so that you can shoot into the kitchen like that. And also, did my renovated my other bedroom, which is behind this wall here, into a dungeon so that it would be a great set for Dinner and a Board Game. That ended up not being an easy show to do, especially for it not to get a whole bunch of traction. And I think that may be one of the cases that it kind of gets lost over here on this channel. So maybe the Dinner and a Board Game, moving it over to its own channel is a good idea. And I really can't see for the foreseeable future going back to an in-person kind of format, especially if it's going to be live. The live is so much easier because it doesn't require all of the post-production. I have been experimenting with different ways to get us to play online because I really like to have more people join us. I'd really like to be able to do. I think I have done. I think we are on. We're still tracking it by seasons. We're like on season 2, episode 9 of Dinner and a Board Game. I think I did that last Friday. So I'm about to end another season, and then we may just end up tracking numbers instead of seasons. We may end up. So it looks like I might have 20 episodes. Anyway, 20 full games, 20 full episodes of that this Friday if we play Hero Quest again tonight. And I really would like to. So I was doing tech tests basically and having everybody trying with all the live, and that's worked very well. So I'm thinking about this requires production and coordination of people again. But then I would like to say, hey, can we do Dinner and a Board Game live where we have other people on? And I would like to do that. I was experimenting with building out Hero Quest online in an environment where we can play inside that playingcards.io. I was experimenting with that. And there's a lot about it that can work. There's a couple of things that are not quite as great, but we may have to go for it anyway because everything else kind of works so well to be able to play that. So that would be a way. We'd have to build something out, and then if we coordinated people, we'd have to say, I mean, basically put people under contract and say, all right, we're going to do another 10 episodes or 5 episodes, maybe contract people for 5 episodes so they know when to be here, and then we play something like Hero Quest or other game online and live. I think that'd be fun. But the downside is that requires more coordination. So Desist Dawdling says multiple channels will be frustrating. I'd rather see everything in one place with organized playlists. Well, that's the way it is right now. I mean, everything is in separate playlists now. Tomocrat says, I see morning grind akin to general geekdom. Oh, really? You think morning grind has become more like... Well, like I'd like to be able to broaden topics and things like that because we've covered a lot of role-playing games. Now, there's still more to cover, but broadening on different topics. Yeah, it's kind of like... It could be kind of like a solo general geekdom. War Machine system is the mass combat system. It appears in the companion rules first in the rules encyclopedia. Okay. So we covered that. So they called that the War Machine. Desist Dawdling, I mean, your channel is called the Geekverse, so keeping everything in one place is not bad. Yeah, that's why. So that's why I decided to. Yeah, that's why I called it this. Yes. I suppose the other major show we were calling it Friday Night Dice. We haven't gotten to start this yet, although I did make up all the video assets. This was supposed to be our RPG streaming show. Don't have to worry about cooking dinner. I made up all of the assets. So my thinking there was that, well, I'd like to play some role-playing games on the channel as well. Dinner, a board game, like I said, you have to have dinner. Otherwise, the show is just kind of like board game. But I'd like to, we got so many people who are creating, hey, Michael, who are creating worlds and have their own RPGs and things like that. I think running one-shots that show off different people's RPGs and their worlds would be a lot of fun. Or even, in some cases, some solo play, like trying out the Strider mode of the One Ring and things like that. So I kind of was seeing Dinner and a Board Game and Friday Night Dice alternating. We hadn't started that one yet. Although I did make up a lot of the digital assets that wouldn't be needed for that show. But that one also requires coordinating people. I've been running out of time to coordinate people. But if I can, because you'd have to coordinate the game master for that night, who's going to be running the game, what kind of world is it going to be in. You'd also have to make sure everybody all the players are familiar with we have to do that live. All the players are familiar with the tech, and I'd want to come up with a good slate of players for that. So that one would be fun, and it also wouldn't require dinner, but we'll just have to see how it goes. The other show, Cultists, the Cultists. So this is season 2 complete. But this was by season 2 complete. This is by far the most expensive and difficult show to do. And we do have season 3 written. All the scripts are ready. But we didn't get as much traction as we really needed on the Cultists in order to continue with season 3. So people were talking about that in the Discord server. About, well, what's going to happen? Do you think there could be a season 3? Yeah, we kind of designed it as a 3-season arc. And Brianna and I did write the 3rd season. We'd go back and would probably do some polishing and rewriting and reevaluation of the season 3 scripts. But in order to do the Cultists, we would definitely need some more energy. And the question there is it worth it? Now, Brianna has done, is it worth it anyway? Brianna has been doing some of her shows, or has been doing some directing on her own up in Denver. She needs the directing side of things because she wants to be a director, and so she's got to be able to produce her own films. And so she said that actually she needs to be able to produce them on her own. So she's been working on that. She's been editing one. We'll take a look at it on Table Talk. I think she did, I believe it's a horror. I believe it's a short horror film that's in post-production right now. You know, we designed the Cultists to be able to practice, to be able to produce things like that in order to be able to produce teaser trailers and such for the different worlds that we are creating, like for world buildings, that we would have examples of teaser trailers and something that's actually visually represents the different worlds that we're doing. And so we needed something we could practice with, and the Cultist is something we could practice with because we just get everybody together, and we're not trying to like do, you know, medieval armor or medieval costuming or anything like that. So, you know, something like that if you're doing fantasy or science fiction or trying to do major special effects. You know, it was a show that, although it was very expensive and very difficult to coordinate, I mean, it's a huge effort to do something like the Cultists. It might not necessarily teach us the kinds of things that we necessarily need to know anyway, especially as an increase in AI technology allows us to do more and more just with a computer. And so it may be that, well, when it comes time to do something like for Theophany or Rabivania, that now Rabivania probably wouldn't have been shot live anyway, unless it was shot with puppets. That would be shooting it live, which it could have been. That was certainly on the table. The skills learned from shooting the Cultists might not necessarily transfer into the kinds of things that we need anyway. So, you know, that's one of those things. Just like, well, this was being created in order to teach this lesson, and if that's no longer necessary, then hey, maybe, you know, you just make that recognition and go, hey, maybe we don't need to do the Cultists anymore, and we just use other technology in order to bring our ideas out. Although, even if that really becomes the case, then I'm going to be extra glad that I did do the Cultists, because not many people get to coordinate a show like that and be in a show. And with technology going the way it is, I think it's going to become even rarer and rarer. So I think it'll be a special kind of thing in the future, especially to look back on and go, you know what, we actually did a show, and rather than just doing it entirely at our computers through AI technology and all of that, we actually got a whole bunch of people together, and we had the actors, and we had the costuming, and we did pre-production, and we had to, you know, coordinate meals and feed them, and we had, you know, and all of that. And I have a feeling that's going to become an increasingly special kind of thing. As we go. Yeah, even James says even smaller budget films are a mountain of coordination. A small budget episodic series, multiply it by the number of episodes. Yeah, it said it took us it takes us a couple of months. It's here on the channel. The Cultist is here on the channel. It's in a playlist. See, it's here on the channel. It's in a playlist. So, I mean, yeah, right now, everything's on the channel. It's organized by playlist. So if you look up the Cultists, you'll find it. The cultists. Here's view full playlist. This starts with the trailer. So there are 2 seasons, but here is the season 1 cultist season 1 trailer. Or season 1 playlist. And there's a season 2 playlist as well. Hey, Steel Mongoose. Welcome, welcome. Michael says, I would like to see you on some other channels like Film Thread or Midnight's Edge. Well, I was on Film Thread. I've never been on Midnight's Edge. I know who they are. I've been on Film Thread. In fact, there's I did the Film Threat podcast with Chris Gore. And there I even put some clips from the Film Threat podcast. He let me clip some of them, put them back over here on this channel. So I have been on Film Threat. So I don't know about that. So I'm still got to think about this. So I got to think about that. I don't see myself continuing with major live action productions. If I were to do season 3, one thing I was saying that it takes so long. James says it took us about 2 months. It takes about 2 months in order to prepare a pre-production in order to prepare to shoot the cultists. It takes about 2 months worth of pre-production. Where with like 2 or 3 people working in order to coordinate the cultists. And it takes 14 full-time days in order to shoot a season. So that seasons were 10 episodes long. It takes us 14 days. And so that's expensive when you think about all the different, I mean, everybody's getting paid. I pay everybody for that. Paying all the actors, you're paying the production assistants that are on set. And next time we've got to have an audio guy. We need a dedicated audio person. So that would make the next season even more expensive. Of course, director of photography, director, as the producer, I'm on set. Plus we have to feed everybody. So it's so much fun. It's so much fun. It makes me love indie film like that. I realized I could totally get into an indie film kind of zone because it is so much fun. Brianna, during that time, Brianna comes down here and stays. The guy who plays Ben, Glenn, comes down here, and he, because he's away, so he typically stays down here with me as well. So I got a bunch of people down here. They're staying here at the house. Wake up early, get out to site, the set, wherever it is that we're trying to get to, on location, film all day, have food brought in. We do a lot of work. Brianna directs it. Then we come back to my house. Everybody who is going to be watching dailies comes back to my house. We hook the computer up to, so dailies, what that is the director, who in this case is Brianna, reviews all of the footage that was shot that day at the end of the day. So everybody goes home basically after the day of shooting is done, but the director is not done. And most of the time, the director of photography stays, although sometimes like 80% of the time, although sometimes he sets Brianna up and then goes home. So the director of photography will also sit there and watch all of that. And then as the producer, basically Brianna's job would be to report to me, even though I'm most of the time standing there in the room as well, to make sure that what we shot that day was actually on schedule and usable footage, and that we actually did capture what we were supposed to capture, for that day worth of work. So Brianna sits there and watches the dailies, everything that was shot that day, and takes notes about every scene or every shot that was shot, and also indicates right there that night which one of the scenes that she wants to have in the show. So she's watching right there. She's like, all right, that cut, that scene, this shot for this part right here, and makes like first choice, second choice, and third choice. And that way, when we go to editing, we have all of the stuff. And then we also have the director's first, second, and third choice for which one goes in. Because sometimes it ends up that, well, there's some reason the first choice can't get in because of like a major continuity error or whatever, And, but when we start editing, we have all the information. That's also when she tags bloopers. And then Brianna signs off and says, Mr. Producer, we got, everything we need. We are good, which fortunately we basically always do. When we were running season 1, I was like, how do we know? This seems to be going well, but how would we know if things were going badly? And one of the ways that we would know things were going badly is if we like weren't getting our stuff done, if we weren't getting the shots done, if we weren't finishing on time, if at the end of the day we were looking at dailies and we just did not have the stuff. I mean, then things were going well. We would know things were going badly, but so things seemed to be going well. But then that night, so by the time Brianna finished dailies, I tried to have dinner ready, and we would all, have dinner. Whoever was staying here tried to cook dinner, tried to cook a good dinner, and then we'd chill for an hour or two, and then start it all over. So much fun, so much fun. But that takes 14 days straight to shoot the Cultists. So that's an hour worth of, each season is 10 episodes, but overall a season is about an hour long. So takes 14 days in order to shoot that. And then you got to start editing. And that takes months, weeks to months afterwards in order to edit it all together. So the Cultist is a big deal. The only reason to do one more season would be to try to do it as great as it can possibly be done. And so I would do it probably in smaller episode chunks too. Instead of trying to shoot all 10 episodes, I might say, all right, hey, can we get together for 3 days and let's shoot 3 episodes? See if we can do an entire episode in a day. We could potentially do that because the way that season 3 is set up, several episodes, a lot of the episodes occur only in one location. So rather than having to cut back and forth between different locations, you could get whole episodes shot in one location, which is an advantage. Just to really pull out the stops. Because if you watch season 1, then you watch season 2, I mean, we dramatically upped our quality between season 1 and season 2. And I think we could do that again. I mean, everybody learned so much of what their craft was and what they were supposed to do between season 1 and season 2. Then everybody did it, everybody has done it again since season 2. So the only reason one of the main reasons to do it is we just wanted to say, all right, what can we possibly create in a live action environment? We'll see. James says, I'm entirely unsurprised that it took months. I've been on shoots that lasted weeks, and those schedules are typically backbreaking. James says, I'll have to go look up the Film Thread episode that you're on. I ended up asking Chris some questions too. So that was a long time ago. I do more speed editing, getting 1.4 minute package made. So working long-term editing is strange. Oh yeah, it's very fun. It's very fun. And that's why I said the making of the Cultist season 1 and season 2 is going to be one of my favorite memories. It's one of my favorite memories. Yes, Brianna directed all the episodes. She's directed all the episodes. Double Crit Fail says there's such a great cross-section of people in the film industry and people in the tabletop RPG industry. Yes. Well, you're right. If you're talking about it's not going well, yeah, requiring additional budget and things like that, yeah, that you're right. That's an indicator as well. Because there is this, the LED walls. We have the green screens, but we also have the new technology. With this, not necessarily depending on how you want to define new, but was kind of pioneered with the Mandalorian with these LED walls. So when you're shooting, you've built the background in a 3D environment, and then you're projecting that. You're actually showing that on LED walls, and then you're filming that, which is what they're doing for the Mandalorian. So you're not actually coming in post and putting in a green screen. There is one of those. There's one of those LED walls in a studio in Birmingham. It's about maybe 50 minutes north of me. So there is one of those, and I was thinking, wow. Now that's where I was thinking I was going to get, because I was like, now, gee, there's no way that we have enough time or budget in order to use that for something extended. But if I were going to do something like Theophany, if I needed a trailer or a teaser in order to show what Theophany could be and what it could look like, well, now that kind of technology could be used. Like we could rent that for a day or something like that. We would need to be able to get in there, do exactly what we wanted to do, and then know exactly what we wanted. Brennan, who was the director of photography on the Cultists, is or was an apprentice to the guy who runs that studio. So he was learning how to use the tech and things like that as well. And so we'd have to hire. I mean, the idea would be, well, if we were trying to do 90 seconds max worth of final footage for like a trailer, and we wanted to show what we could really do, practice on the cultists, know everything that we're doing, and then go for one day, like later, then prep everything and make sure everything is perfect, and prep everything and do one day to do like 90 seconds of what Theophany would be. But like I said, I don't know that that's even necessary anymore. I'm every day, or at least every week that goes by, and certainly every month, it seems like the tech of the virtual productions generally here just expands so much that I don't have that. It just seems like going to that great expense to produce something like that, it seems like it's going to be completely unnecessary. Not something that's necessary, I think. Filmmaking on a cool fall morning and a firelight evenings are my favorite. It's like camping, but better. So those are the shows. That's kind of the status of the shows. Which I think is great progress. I mean, things change, things evolve, but basically those are the shows that we've got, and basically what their status has been since basically I started the morning grind. So, I mean, a lot of that I'm very excited about, and it's gone so well. Let's see. So now let's go down to worlds, or worlds or projects. Let's go down to different projects here. This one might require, this is probably going to require the grid, because I was thinking about expressing this more in grid form. So, I mean, good night, sword. Because I still feel like it's possible that from my perspective of what type of value do I bring, or do I hope that I bring, I think the world building is one of them. I think the world building still is potentially one of the major things that I can kind of add to the world. And by the way, we talked briefly after table talk last night, because I did notice that Doug brought up world building quite a bit on the show last night. And so we still have quite a few more stories to talk about and movies to analyze. But Doug and I said that, sometime later on the morning grind, we really need to talk about world building, because he said he's very interested in the world building as well, and has a bunch of notes on that. He said he took tons of notes on world building and how to world build when he was even doing the book on the Heroine's Labyrinth. And of course, I'm also big into the world building. So Doug and I are going to have to talk about world building at some point as well. But good night, sword. So this one, if we're talking about different categories here, well, I can change this up later, but writing, illustration, layout, often these are crowdfunding, and then manufacturing, fulfillment. Those are kind of basic categories for projects to go through. I added insert a shape. Check. A check. That's an X. Okay, there we go. That one got done. So that one is completely done at the moment. I mean, completely done at the moment. That one is completely done. And if you don't know what that is. Oh, James says, I just got Scrivener and that program has become essential for my writing. Oh, well, then I should have sent you in the future. Then if we continue to work together with editing, I'll just send you the Scrivener file, because yeah, I like the Scrivener too. I've been doing my script writing in just Mac Pages, because I hate having to fight with formatting when I'm writing a script, when I'm just trying to do the writing. because like I can get the formatting later, but I hate it when I'm like, oh, I got an idea, or I need to write some kind of note, and you hit down to another line, and it's trying to force you into is this a character or a dialogue, or is it a scene? I'm like, this is just something I want to type. Let me type. So I've been writing the script just inside Mac Pages because it'll just let me type. But basically, for everything else, I've used Scrivener. I can't believe that I didn't use a program like that when I wrote my dissertation. Let's see. Tomocrat says, get some good software like Adobe Premiere that can do at home and green screen sheet. I've got Adobe Premiere. Yeah. I don't know Avid. Well, see, then I can come back and I can format it later. Like I can format it later. But when I'm in the writing mode, I don't want to deal with the formatting. But once I get it written, then it's like, okay, now I know what this is. And then you can go back and you can format it. So anyway, Goodnight Sword is this book right here. Excuse me. So Goodnight Sword we did get done. Goodnight Sword was my takeoff on Goodnight Moon. And it was the first book that is out in the world of the Tales of Rabivania. So with the Tales of Rabivania, I got different stories that are going to be presented for different ages, but this is obviously for the youngest age. It's a takeoff of Goodnight Moon. It's an introduction to the world of Rabivania. Illustrated by Adam Botsford. It's wonderful. And I just know that if you've got somebody who, is a young niece, nephew, son, daughter, whatever, there are a lot of geeks who would like to read Goodnight Sword to that child at bedtime rather than Goodnight Moon. I know I would. So Goodnight Sword, we ran that Kickstarter and it has been fulfilled and all of that is out. So now where do we go from there? Well, actually, I think that more people would like Goodnight Sword. And I was talking to somebody about that. So I've actually spent some of my project time thinking more about how Goodnight Sword can reach a larger audience. And so that's part of the conversation I'm having tonight over dinner. So Goodnight Sword, that one project was finished, but yet there might be some more. I think there is more stuff to do with Goodnight Sword because I think there are a lot more people who would be interested in Goodnight Sword out there who we're not connected with. So might restart that. Restart some kind of marketing program to see what we can do because this is also the start of Rabivania. So this is kind of the start of Rabivania. So Goodnight Sword, that one's there. Rabivania. Oh, we need editing. I'm gonna think of it. Apparently my check marks are not actually in a box. They're just laying on top of it. That'll be fine for right now. Editing right here. So that was done. Rabivania World Primer. RPG World Primer. So now, of course, depending on the stats for some of the other books and things like that, because the idea was that, well, we could put out a world primer that in for a couple different, or maybe 3 different kinds of role-playing games. 3 different systems. So RPG World Primer, that one, the writing is done, and this is in progress. Editing is in progress. So then we're going to work on illustration and layout. I probably could go ahead and start working on illustration. Probably going to do more of that soon. And I'm kind of thinking that this is something that needs to come out like after Christmas. So it seems like maybe the crowdfunding campaign on this runs after Christmas. I'd like to add a few other things to the World Primer. We'll just have to see how that goes. Or to go along with the World Primer, because, I like things like cards and things like that. It might be nice to be able to design some of those too. But first, I want to make sure that book gets completely done. Because if the book were done, then it can go, we can add stuff to it later. So that's good. So Rabivania is in progress here for those. Now, of course, I've got other, the suck part on Rabivania is that my action figures, because I've got the action figure prototypes, I need to write the manufacturer back on this. I've got action figure prototypes that are ready, and I also have the plush toy action figures, plush toy prototypes that are ready, and those are what you see behind me. So I've got prototypes from manufacturers, but those are on hold because we need more people because those are expensive. So in order to crowdfund those, especially in order to do something like get the molds made for those action figures, those are expensive. So if we can attract more people, so kind of the idea here would be if we can reach out and we can get more people interested in Goodnight Sword, then we can keep rolling with Rabivania and might be able to then produce the action figures, our savage raccoon warriors and our gallant rabbit knights, and get that done. But we need more outreach, more dedicated outreach to the world of Rabivania. So, I've also been monitoring social media. I got like a Tales of Rabivania Facebook page. Actually, let's put this out here. Okay, yes. So Rabivania has its own YouTube channel. Now, that's where the stories are going to be. I guess I should talk about that. Once the World Primer, once the edits are done on the World Primer, that will give us some scripts as well. I want to put some of those scripts out as lore on the Tales of Rabivania channel so that so that people can see the Tales of Rabivania, what it is, scripts that are narrated and then also illustrated and stuff like that. So there's not a whole lot on the Tales of Rabivania YouTube channel right now. There is Goodnight Sword, the animated Goodnight Sword, and that kind of. I was talking yesterday, or is that 2 days ago? Or I was talking a few days ago about the differences between what was done with the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows YouTube channel when we had my scripts that were read or narrated and then had a static image. And it sure would be better if we had more than just a static image. Well, when we did the Goodnight Sword audiobook, that's basically what we did. We said, all right, no, we've got more images here. We can actually do an animated audiobook. We can animate the images. We've got more than one image. We're not just looking at a static image for Goodnight Sword the entire time. That's kind of the direction that I want to go. The problem is getting that number of illustrations done. So we're trying to come up with different ways to do that using new technology. But I'm anticipating, I really want to be able to put out more stuff on the Tales of Rabivania YouTube channel as the World Primer then is coming out, is about to be released, whether that's on Kickstarter or whatever else. So Rabivania RPG World Primer. So Rabivania action figures. That's not a writing project, so it doesn't really have the same kind of layout right here. But that is on hold at the manufacturer's prototype stage. And then also Rabivania plush toys on hold at the manufacturer's prototype stage. Basically the same story there. So need more interest in Rabivania, and then we'll be able to bring those out. That's one of the things that I've always wanted. I want a story in the world of Rabivania. I want stories. I want an RPG. I want action figures. I want plush toys, and then maybe eventually some kind of board game or something like that. So that's a lot of actually stuff that has been created for Rabivania that goes in that direction. It's not all out yet, but I mean, it's more than just an idea. James says, I'm a buyer when those figures and plushes become available. Well, thank you. I know. Stray has always been a fan of Sir Boars. And I'm about to introduce them into the script. So that also does mean, like over here, I guess we can also put, because most of my creative time all right, let me Rabivania script That one is writing is in progress. Rabivania book not started. That won't happen until after the script is done. And unfortunately, writing the script and things like that doesn't give me stuff to share with you guys. That's a downside. I spent the morning writing and stuff like that. But unlike the RPG stuff, which I've been sharing as we've been doing RPG building and world building and stuff like that, I don't have the I can't share the story stuff. I mean, you don't want me to. That's the spoiler kinds of stuff. Rabivania not yet started. I'm taking Cameron's advice here and saying that because I always thought that you write the book first. Well, write the book first and then come up with the movie script later. Cameron said, nope, reverse that. Go ahead and get the movie script written. And that way, if somebody ends up wanting it, then it's ready. It can just go. If you see somebody wants it, you got a movie script and you can just go. But then after you've gotten the movie script written, you know exactly what the story is going to be. You will have hammered out and ironed out your story. And boy, is that true. That is, you do some serious hammering and ironing out of this story in order to complete the movie script. I've been fighting with it. So he's completely right that by the time the movie script is done, don't bother trying to write the whole book before you have to, while you're still trying to figure out what the story is. I think he's completely right about that. Go ahead and write the script. And then by the time when the script is done, then say, all right, now that is the story. That's it. And then take the script and turn that into a book. And then you can pitch the book later if you want to pitch the book, which I would. But also the script is sitting there just in case, like, hey, if somebody just wants to directly make a movie, then, hey, the script is ready. So it makes sense to me. It's not how I would have done it, but hey, that's why I asked for other people's advice and things like that. So script is very much still in progress. Book would come after that, but that's getting close to RPG World Primer. There's no board game on that list yet. But that's okay. But that's a lot of the things that I've always wanted to exist for Rabivania in some. Well, I guess that's not in a state of creation, but it's kind of the book is kind of in a state of creation because the script is creating the story, so it's kind of in a state of going. But actually, when I look at that, I do feel pretty good about that. That's a lot of things that I wanted to exist for Rabivania, and we're making them happen. Zero the Blade says, hypothetically, how many zeros would you need to get some of these things off the ground, Heath? Well, I mean, it depends on how you're going to do it. For instance, the issue with the plushes, the plushes have a high minimum run. So the issue with the plushes is the high minimum number. So like the Tales of Rabivania plush toys. We got Sir Boars, Sir Boars over here and Sir Merrick right here. The issue with these guys is that they require large minimum runs. They want to produce. They require a minimum of 2,000 plush toys as a minimum run. So how are we going to know when we're about ready to run some plush toys? See, what I can't have happen, well, first of all, that means there's a large crowdfunding goal. So I got 6 different plush toys prototyped. There's one right over there. Yeah, I believe I have 6 different plush toys. That means that I'd have to have got a minimum run of 12,000 plush toys that I would have to get. And you can't afford to. First of all, you got to buy them, at several dollars a piece. So that's going to be in order to put all 6 plush toys into production, I would have to get them requoted. But let's be very conservative and say those are $6 a piece. So from the manufacturer, that's that's high. That's a conservative because you also have to pay other fees like Kickstarter fees and things like that. So let's say you needed $6 per plush toy, and you got to make 12,000 plush toys. You're talking about $72,000. So that's why actually I was thinking that maybe what you do is you don't try to put all 6 of them into production at one time. You just put one of them into production. But basically, you would know when you were ready, when there was enough fans of Rabivania to know that about 2,000 of each different plush toy is going to go out the door, because it only gets more expensive if if only 500 of them go out the door. This is your basic crowdfunding strategy here. Then you've got to pay for warehousing for another 1,500 of them. And then how are you going to sell those 1,500? And they're getting more and more expensive as you're paying for a warehouse month to month. So, for instance, that's something right like that. The action figures right now, the way that I would prefer to do the action figures is to already have the molds made by the time the Kickstarter runs. Because I really don't like doing Kickstarters that last for a long time. We used to do that when I was with Infinite Black. I mean, those Kickstarters, they were so massive. There were so many SKUs. You were working on that Kickstarter and you're working on trying to get manufacturing done and fulfillment done for a whole year. I mean, I think this last one, I was not involved in Infinite Black's last Kickstarter, but I think it's still been 18 months since they concluded the funding portion of that Kickstarter, and the products are still finalizing manufacturing in China. I mean, it's a long time. It's a long time. So the mold making on those action figures is going to take a while, probably 45 days. I mean, on the other hand, only 45 days, but you need some cushion there too. But it's probably going to be about $45,000 to produce the molds for those action figures. And I'd prefer to have the molds already done before the Kickstarter runs. And then so all the Kickstarter funding has to do is actually fund injecting the molds with plastic. And then you can also turn around the Kickstarter faster. And that will have to come from overseas. That'll be an overseas Kickstarter. So it'll be longer in general. But at least that way, when the funding comes, like from Kickstarter or whatever the crowdfunding is, everybody's not waiting. Okay, now we have to make the molds, and then you have to be sure the molds work, and you have to go through the testing phases and things like that. It would be great if I had the molds sitting there completely ready to go. And then we did the crowdfunding campaign. Everybody, ordered, pledged for the action figures they wanted, and then as soon as the money came in from Kickstarter, I just gave the clearance to the manufacturer to start injecting molds full of plastic. That would be my preferred way to do it. Then production begins, then they've got to be shipped, but that would be a much faster turnaround time than, all right, now we're going to make the molds. So we're talking thousands and thousands. If you intend to turn a book into a film, just write the film. If you only intend to write a book, write the book. Well, I want to have both. I want to have the novel. So I want to so Rabivania will be a novel for sure. That's what I've been trying to write for years. But you're right. The reason that it's so nice writing the script is because you don't have to write so much like description and all of that. I mean, the novel will probably be 100,000 words, but the script is going to be maximum of 30,000. So much easier to change structure. It's not easy, but it's so much easier to change structure or scenes or things like that if you realize, oh, this isn't going right. For plushes and figures, you have to hold some for defect, damage, replacement. Yes, absolutely. So that's going to be north of whatever the order actually is, and you have to factor that in the cost per unit. Yeah, absolutely. You have to do that because there's always somebody who gets something that's damaged from sometimes there is a defect from the manufacturer, but also sometimes somebody's package is destroyed. The UPS or USPS or whoever it is, there's a package that's damaged. You have to be able to replace that and all that. Yeah. But see, that's the thing, right? The good thing about mold reuse is that each subsequent run becomes cheaper and cheaper. And if you own the molds, you could depreciate them, making it cost less in taxes too. Yes. Well, see, that's ultimately, we made the action figures very modular for that reason. So eventually what will happen is that there'll be an increasingly large library of pieces from which to create Tales of Rabivania action figures, because the molds will already be there, and the molds and the pieces can be reused. So that you don't see a whole lot of independent action figure manufacturers because they are so expensive to make. But the way that the ones that you do see start getting a couple of molds off the ground, and then you add to it a little bit, and then you continually build your library of pieces and parts that, if you've built them right, are interchangeable and can be used to create new figures and things like that. So like the buck, you can see. Sir Bors here and Sir Merrick are very similar in piece structure. Now, people said they want different faces. They've got different faces now. That right now, these have the same head on them and different faces. But you can see their chest gets swapped out. So there are two different chest pieces. One of them that has the chevron, and one of them has the bar on it. And of course, they have different shields and different weapons and things like that. And they've got different helmets. But even the helmets are modular, because the helmet itself is the same, but the crest that goes on it is something that plugs in. So we thought about a lot of that. Did I go down? There we go. I think it'd be fun to there we go. I think I would want to get these action figures out, because kind of like He-Man started with action figures. And I mean, there's other stuff like the Goodnight Sword has come out, but I think that the action figures are impressive. The action figures are really impressive. Yeah, if you want to do both, start with the film. Do the book after the beats are hammered out. Then you can relax with the creativity of describing scenes, already knowing where the story goes. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, you can. I heard the molds for action figures can well exceed 6 figures. Yeah, absolutely. They can. Oh, let's see. Yeah, hit the wrong button. Okay, so let me go to another page right here. This up here. So this was basically talking about Rabivania. And then this one over here is talking about Theophany. Which I am also excited to start working on. I have been working on Rabivania for a long time. And I feel like I've been working on it longer than I am working on it longer than I was expecting. I started working on the Tales of Rabivania because I've been working on Journey to Tree of Sorrows with David. And that was a very serious and intense Lovecraftian kind of fantasy. And so it was hardcore. And of course, I take Rabivania very seriously, but it's not hardcore like Lovecraftian horror, things dying and well, things die in Rabivania. Things dying in horrific ways and going insane in Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. So I wanted to turn around and try something a little bit lighter. But now I'm kind of ready also to talk about something darker. Although I got to finish. I mean, you got to finish the script. That's going to happen. Oh, here's Robert talking about his arc. My arc is making the computer game, crowdfund sales for instant access downloads, and then launch graphic novel crowdfunder. Game generates passive revenue. Well, that could work. So, okay, so I didn't know you were going to go in graphic novel after this. That's interesting. I'll have to see how that goes too. So crowdfund. Well, let us know when that's. I'm sure you will. Let us know when that's going live. Crowdfund the game. The digital stuff is nice. The digital stuff is nice, and also the print on demand stuff is nice. Game generates passive revenue. Oh, you're gonna be drawing? You're gonna be drawing it? That's cool. Game subsidizes me sitting down to draw. Well, that's cool. And of course, I know those have huge followings. Graphic novels. I have not been following Eric July overall. I mean, I should. I know what he's doing, but he clearly knocked out of the park with. I guess it was a graphic novel. I mean, I don't know if it was. I guess it was a graphic novel that he created. Knocked it out of the park. So that leaves us when I do Theophany here, I do want to do a Theophany RPG world primer. So when I do RPG writing, it seems like that's where I want to go after the Rabivania gets done. So that one's still getting started. But I'm wondering if I should do something else before that, because I've got I've got Goodnight Sword. And I kind of, set up as well. I'm wondering if there needs to be some kind of color, like coffee table kind of book for Theophany. It's also possible. I've got I'm looking at this very closely because I'm going to have to launch this pretty soon if I am going to do this. It might be good to start with a Christmas kind of book, which is not exactly Theophany, but it is Theophany adjacent. I've got a Christmas story that I wrote that tells the Christmas story, as in the birth of Christ, but from the perspective of the angels. So, of course, Theophany is about all of the angels. So it's the Christmas story book is not actually set in the world of Theophany, but it's very Theophany adjacent as far as, telling a story about angels and what's going on in heaven while this is kind of going. And so I actually kind of wondered if I've wanted to get that book out for Christmas for a long time. And if I could do that, I need to work on that now, to do a kind of Christmas book that would kind of ease into the world of Theophany, kind of like I eased into Rabivania with Goodnight Sword. And then that would lead in later to the Theophany RPG world primer. So I've been kind of thinking about that, if there should be some kind of pre-book like that can be done, because getting started with this, something to ease it in before this world primer begins. So over here, writing, I guess this book is already kind of written. I would need to go through, I'm going to make some more passes through it, but that's basically in progress already. Robert says Eric July and Ethan Van Sciver are showing a very viable YouTube-based crowdfunding models. I follow them very closely. EVS is awesome. He's nonstop, very hard worker, and his success proves it. Yeah, he did extremely well. So that's what I've been thinking of. This was kind of a transitional episode, I guess, about where we kind of are, because I was kind of thinking that so in the future, once James has taken a look at the first RPG, then I'm gonna get that back, and then it will be for that project, I'll be into illustration, trying to figure out how to get that, what kind of illustrations we need, what type of layout do we want, and then also moving things over to create some stuff for that YouTube channel. And I think YouTube parts of the history and lore, and that say something about the RPG world primer coming out. But I think the stories, we're talking about multiple YouTube channels and things like that. The stories for Tales of Rabivania and other worlds will get lost here. I mean, we can watch them during the morning grind and things like that, but they'll get lost. I think people, especially if you're coming in, you're just interested in the Tales of Rabivania, the stories and history and lore, those need to go on the world specific channels. That's why I put up like the Tales of Rabivania channel specifically for world specific lore and story stuff. So that's exciting. This progresses beyond that. And if I can ever figure out how to get, especially the first act of this script done over here, and figure out what it's all about, then that will be nice. Eventually, I wrote basically a whole book for the Tales of Rabivania that's about their mythical hero, but Cameron vetoed it in its current incarnation. So there's been a lot of stuff that's actually been written for Tales of Rabivania that can be used, but it's got to be rewritten and adjusted for that. Let's go. I will show you. Let me bring up something about Theophany. I'll give you a quick preview of that, because I also really want to do some videos for the Theophany channel, because I've got some of the stuff that I've written for Theophany that has been read by Ian Gordon, and Ian Gordon is the guy who runs Horror Babble, and he's the one who narrated a lot of almost all of the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows videos. And of course, he just sounds fantastic. And so I wanted him to narrate Theophany as well. And so he did that. In fact, so I want to make sure I leave you with that preview. So let's go over there and check that out. So here is kind of the direction that I'm going over there. Let's see here. The Sefer, it's Theophany and the Sefer Ashkobiel. Let me see if this is the right one. End of this week. Oh, okay. No problem. There's no hurry, but that's just because I mean, it's not like I don't have enough to sit over here and do. I'm not waiting on anything. I'm working on other projects. But that's how that's going. So let's go over here. Let me take this down. And so this is what I call it, the opening, the invocation of Theophany. And then I'll see if I can play it with Ian Gordon. Yeah, I don't run this channel anymore. I don't have anything to do with this channel. That's all David since I left Infinite Black. Journey to the Tree of Sorrows was David's world. But if you want to hear short stories that I wrote and lore for different Lovecraftian objects and items and symbols and things like that, there are 2 whole short stories that I wrote over there. The Relic of the Mad Poet and also The Relic of the Mad Poet and The Chamber of the Yellow King. Wrote 2 short stories over there. So I'm very proud of those. And they were narrated by Ian Gordon. So if you want to listen to a short story, a horror short story, Lovecraftian horror short story I wrote, there are 2 of them that are over there on the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows YouTube channel. Although I don't control that YouTube channel anymore. That one's not mine. But it's my work over there. Let's see. Present. I love the Yellow King. The Yellow King, the mythology of the Yellow King is some of my favorite. Of course, we have that in the Cultist too. We use the Yellow King in the Cultist. The Yellow King is one of my favorites. If I were to do some other Lovecraftian stuff over here, I would definitely draw on the Yellow King. Okay, so over here. So this is my opening invocation for Theophany. So here's your preview. I know. You look to the heavens with wonder. You see their symmetry. You see their order. You see their perfection. You imagine the place your mother whispered to you about as you drifted to sleep, and remember the sweet comforts told to those weeping at the gravestones of their beloved. Emerald grass, bright blue waters, streets of gold, all those things. You know nothing. I have seen it, and I have met its denizens, and you do not know terror unless you have cowered at the feet of an angel revealed in his wrath. Oh, and hell, yes, you make light of it. Fools! I have seen the prince of hell on his dark throne and the devils of his court, and I have seen the devastation that the war between heaven and hell has brought to the earth. I have seen battlefields strewn with demon carcasses, broken and rotting, but also strewn with the mournful and bloated corpses of those once beautiful angels. Oh, yes, I have seen heaven, and I have seen hell, and I can tell you of their horrors, for between them there is nothing but war. So that is, I want to, Ian has read that. So I have a version of that is read by Ian Gordon, and I want to be able to put imagery to that. So, I mean, how do we do that? And I want to be able to do that in a way that's more than putting one image to it, like we were doing with Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. I've got images in my head about things that go with all of these different lines, and it sure would be great to be able to find some way to be able to put images to that in some way that is captivating and is, is imagery heavy to captivate video and YouTube audiences. Go to other, whatever video platforms, but we're over here on YouTube primarily right now. So that not only do you have the audio and the text, but that you actually have at least lightly animated imagery that goes and shows you what type of world this is. And I do draw heavily from Greek and Roman mythology. So a lot of for this. And so a lot of the angels have a very classic kind of Greco-Roman look. That's the kind of look that we're going here. We got classic knights in the Tales of Rabivania, but over here in Theophany, we're going much earlier and we're drawing from kind of Greco-Roman inspirations. PH says, we all read the story of Yellow King, story of Yellow King, story of Yellow King. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Of course, the original Yellow King, of course, is very different from what you might think. Of course, I read all of those in preparation for digging into the mythology of the Yellow King. So, probably, we'll just have to see what type of stuff we'll be doing on World Building Wednesdays going forward. I want to plan out what needs to be written as far as the RPG world primer for Theophany here. Do about 10,000 words on it as well, and then start putting in game statistics. In order, I also have to review for Theophany. We looked at the Book of Vile Darkness, which was great. Book of Vile Darkness. Boy, that was just great. But I've got the Book of Exalted Deeds for reference as well. I've got the AD&D, the Guide to Hell. And then also Warriors of Heaven. So one thing to do would be to take a look at the different ways that angels and demons and things like that have been incarnated in Dungeons and Dragons, for like a Dungeons and Dragons version of that world primer. So we've got all that, so we can take a look at that. Those will probably be fun to go over the morning grind as well. Oh, Yellow Submarine. Yes. Okay, I got you. Now I'm hearing that in that tone. Yes. Haster is rad, but a contribution from outside. It is outside that came in. And I don't actually consider Haster to be the Yellow King. I don't know if I wrote that explicitly in any of the writing I had done. But I had a different interpretation of that. It seemed like Haster to me was a place. So I do break with that and just have it be the Yellow King. A lot of the mythos is external to Lovecraft, and he encouraged it. He wanted people to use his creations to tell stories. Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between a lot of the pulp writers at the time. Dug into that very heavily when I was doing Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. Did a whole bunch of the scholarship into the Lovecraftian mythos. All right. Well, that is going to wrap that up. So that was kind of a status report of the whole channel and kind of my thinking. We'll see where this goes, but that's a status report of the whole channel and what we've managed to accomplish and what we've managed to do in the past roughly 268 episodes, maybe 275 days. So we got work to do. I still have more work to do. So I'm thinking about running a productivity stream. It generally takes me about 15 or 20 minutes or maybe a little bit longer to get that set up. But I ran one this morning and I want to do at least another hour of script writing and then start going into some other things that I've got to do. So if you have got things that you would like to do and you would like to join me, we'll do a members only productivity stream. I do appreciate all the channel members because you guys are the ones that are keeping us going and making all this happen. So if you are enjoying this, I really appreciate all the channel members. Consider joining, and then we will be here in 15, 20, 30 minutes, someplace like that, for a productivity stream. We'll get focused. We'll be doing 25-minute focus sessions. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, can be whatever. It can be creative, can be work-related, can be whatever. If you want time to do it, hey, come with us and hold yourself accountable with everybody on the stream. So we will do that shortly. In the meantime, everybody be constructive, be creative, and grind on. Later.